Did you know that 71% of leaders, according to Gallup survey, believe that engaged and happy employees are much more pivotal to businesses and organizational success? They also have proved that apparently engaged workplaces bring in 21%. Just imagine the number, 21% more profit. That'll be my today's story. Let's talk about it. What creates a successful and sustainable team culture? Creating what is vital. I've spent the past 17 years in developing technology teams in all sorts of levels, shapes, and sizes. So, to achieve the numbers in the previous slide, let me share with you my story and my lessons that I've learned through my journey in that space, in that environment. So, I guess the numbers talk for themselves. In order to do that, we need to have a team and leadership chemistry. There has to be a chemistry between the leadership and the team. So everyone, both the team lead and the team, has to work as a singular knowledge, not as separate bits and pieces. Great. In order to achieve that, the first item that I learned years ago, and I was actually, the greatest story that I've heard about this was given to be one of my coaching clients. And he had this situation basically that an employee, as a personality, was slightly underdeveloped. And for that reason, that particular individual was engaging in all sorts of toxic relationships in the private space. And at the end of our coaching sort of training session list, my client said he realized that his job is to create a family in a workplace in order to help that one person at least to become a much better version of themselves. So he said to me, Yanis, I must admit, team, workplace is much more important and much more than something we think about career achievements or whatsoever. Great and amazing story. Obviously, you need to create an environment people love to come to. It's like we love to go to certain places, cafes, restaurants, because we know that staff there is great. That's the job for a leader to do, to create such an environment that people would be fleeing from all sorts of places and would come and spend the time with you. Whatever time is dedicated, 8, 10, 12 hours if you work in shift. Exactly like that. And this lesson I've learned straight away 17 years ago. Never, ever high on technical talent. Never, ever. And I remember the most picturesque and most vivid story in my mind sits when I started my career in technology. It was, I don't know, more than a decade ago. And I was working in sort of a senior technology person, senior developer in one of the companies. And one day, on a permanent basis, and one day I see that a contractor comes and, it's invited to our team, and bosses said, well, he'll be working with us and helping us to basically meet the project deadlines and project needs. And it was literally a cold shower, a shock to me. After a 5-minute conversation with that person, I realized he doesn't know anything about technology or software development whatsoever. Even elementary things like writing bits of code, knowing and having a comprehension level of at least how color schemes work, he did not have. However, he was hired at the rate 3 times more than my salary. So I excused myself from our conversation and I went straight to my boss and I almost yelled at him. Hey man, what have you done? I mean, what's happening? What's wrong? I mean, come on, you're paying him 3 times more than me, but he doesn't know a bloody thing. Nothing, utter nothing. He said, well, Yanis, we hired him based on the technical test. He was brilliant. And I can tell you one thing, technical tests, everything can be faked, but you can never, ever fake leadership skills, perseverance, and work under pressure. That person broke the rule of lying about technical tests. However, he could have persevered. He could have stepped away and learned about it. You know, coming to our first day in his, new place. He could have done it, but he didn't. And that's what frustrated me a lot. He didn't. So always, if you are conducting your interview, and I've done thousands of interviews, I've hired personally hundreds of people, and I have helped to hire hundreds and hundreds of people. I know this very well. For me, in every interview, I need to test leadership skills, and in particular, perseverance and work under pressure. There are tools available, not intrusive, very calm, very empathetic, you can use to achieve that. Absolutely. So, we have now hired a person. We have now joined the team, a new person joins in. And this lesson, we all know the truth that, a chain is as strong as its weakest point. And for you as a leader, you need to work out on your first day, or if you're working in the team for a longer time and you've just been appointed as a leader of that team, in order to achieve a much higher success, you need to be aware of the weakest chain. And remember, again, years ago, I was working for a charity in London, and I had this colleague of mine. She was brilliant in understanding colors and schemes and visualization and design and UX, UI, and all these things. She was absolutely brilliant. But in terms of her work management, her time management, her quality management, just nightmare. Anytime she put something lying, it was just destroying everything we built. But despite of me being frustrated, I asked myself a question, hang on a second. She lacks something. No, she has something. She doesn't lack it yet. That I lack. I'm crazy low in terms of visualization design. For me, it doesn't matter. Something can be red. Okay, it doesn't make sense. It can be red. It can be blue. I ask the person, is it blue good or for that particular purpose? So that's it. That's as far as my visualization goes. She was brilliant. So to build up that chain stronger, I just said, look, you're great in that, and I'm amazed about your talent. I have, and by that moment, I have never seen a person who was like that. Very great, talented, but messy. And I said, look, I use different set of words, but let's separate that mess away. I know you're a bit messy, I know that all that works out. Let's say you get the visualization done, show it to me from your machine, from your computer, and just leave it for me to deploy. Okay, sounds good. And obviously in the charity world, sometimes events happen, charities sponsor those events. So we quite often work after business hours, way beyond, sometimes in the middle of the night. And I said, look, just leave it. And so I would do that very, very late. And I would look at her messy things, would understand what she meant, what she liked, and I would do it myself. I created out of that weakest point, I created a very, very strong chain. And I encourage everyone doing the same. Don't just fire people because for some reason they are just a bit more messy, just a bit not that diligent, and all sorts of things. Inspire them, build them up. You're not on a CEO level, you're on a team leadership level. That is your job as a leader. In order to achieve that, you will need to know personality types, their stories, their troubles, their fears. And without that, it doesn't matter. Because to know a man, and it's not meant a man here, it's meant a human being. To know a human being, you need to understand everything. How he wins, how he fails or she fails, the pride, the fears, all of us, we must master that. And then we can say, okay, fine, I know that person. That work in that particular situation. I would say in an engaging team culture, you need to know people rather than a particular piece of work or particular piece of product or particular piece of delivery. You need to know people. Always put the people first. Hence, you need to master their personality types. I don't know. There are, I believe, a myriad of solutions about personality types. There are tons of tests available. If you ask me, is there a great tool? So I personally use a tool called DISC. which is just an abbreviation of four English word. Um, four English word letters, and a quite simple and this is called DISC analysis, DISC personality analysis. So D stands for dominant. Just as an example, what are people who have the highest number in their test as dominant? They are results oriented, they are pushy, they're nasty. The only thing they're interested is about end result. If you know that, great, you can manage them and you can, control the information flow to steer, not to push them, but to steer in the right fashion, the right way. People who are influential, empathetical, they are sociable. Their all link is about, giving to others, inspire others. Then you have conscious people. Conscious people, they are steady and they are extremely reliable, which means you need to and they stay calm in almost every situation because they can detach themselves from an emotional level. So above the line, if you look in the middle of the line, B and C, they're quite emotional. C is the first one that is not that emotional, very, very strong personality type, always kind of staying in a constructive level. And obviously, we have the steadiness. Those people are interested in details. Fine, this personality type. If you are interested at the end of this session, at the end of this video, please watch it towards the end. You'll be able to book a session with me. And I can use this tool. I can train you to use this tool in your team environment. I want to talk about that. Okay, great. So, you know the personality types. You need to train your team to be sellable. Why? I mentioned engaging teams bring in 21% more profit. Well, because of the one aspect only, they're just sellable. Sellable teams will never get unemployment because anyone can sell them at an organizational level. They know, not as a technical. You have to separate these. I'm talking about the people. They are sellable. They can deliver all sorts of things. They're almost imperishable as a team. I used American football as a great example, great image. But train your team to be sellable. You can't sell them. You won't have problems as a leader. If you can sell them to that project, then you can sell them to that project. Train them to be sellable. And that's it. Period. In order to be sellable, and the most successful sellable products, they have had high values. Think about Apple. I just the most easier true example. I know everyone does it, but this is it has worked already decades of experience. They stick to their values. That's rather simple. Well, because I love this Mahatma Gandhi quote about, how your values are formed. If you take Steve Jobs, for example, he believed in something. Beliefs became thoughts. They became words, actions, and habits. And in turn, it all went into values. Once you have that impregnable, that non-breakable substance of values, your team can do everything. And here's the thing. Many people, I believe a lot of organizations miss that. They believe that, can deviate from the values because in order to achieve short-term wins. And I can literally convince you, in the short term, yes, if your team will just slide around things and, kind of trying to find various non-value based, approaches and achievements, of course, in the short term, you will see spikes. I can guarantee you that, as this graphic behind the scenes shows. You will see spikes, but in the long run, the line may stay flat. In order to achieve greatness, you need to stick with your values. Sometimes you may go down the valley and lose a bit, but eventually it goes all above the wells. Teams that know their values understand that they are in the game business, infinite game business. They want to be everything as a game. As a game they lose, as a game they win. The finite game teams, the ones that shift from values, they have only one thing, final goal. And when it happens, you cannot sell them anymore. Changing, isn't it? This is perhaps one of the most important aspects. Keep the team challenged. If you want to boost the morale and everything that protects them from complacency and creates a long-standing legacy, keep them engaged. I remember this lesson, it's a very interesting story that I was taught that when I was studying in university, and I was studying economics in particular, all sorts of aspects of economics, and I chose a study course called Project Management and Construction. And a tutor, so back in the days, we didn't have any software. I was brought up in Soviet times, so there was no software. We used to do it on a piece of paper, millimeter paper, and you would take a pencil and you would draw a graph. So this is my project line. You would do an arrow up until which date it would take. And it would have an excavator, and it would have then in between, somewhere in the middle of when excavator has started, I would bring in the crane. Why I would bring in the crane? Shouldn't I mention? No, because the crane has to be assembled on the construction site. So while the excavator digs out the big hole, crane can be assembled. So when excavator is done, the crane can start fitting in some precast concrete whatsoever. Anyway, and the story is not about that technology. The story is about my teacher. She was great in finding gaps. And I would, be very, very proud with my work. I worked all through the night. I didn't sleep. I went straight from my desk to university and just, yeah, man, I've done it. She opened my paper and she would look, Yanis, there's a gap. Do you know what happens when there is a gap in a construction site? People become complacent, and he said in all words, they start drinking and indulging themselves in all sorts of stupid activities. That was her word. It has stuck with me. Keep them challenged all the time. I'm not talking here about, special forces and all these kind of things. No, keep them challenged with challenging projects. Keep them engaged. It's all about engagement. Because in the middle of every difficulty, every challenge lies an amazing opportunity. That is the main essence of it. And in fact, I always put this slide, and normally in my presentations, as the first, because I want, emphasize this, keep everyone challenged. If you keep them challenged, you keep them engaged, and off it goes. But this time, I reversed everything to prove that my theory right. If you keep the team challenged, what? They'll stick to their values. Because in order to cope with challenges and difficulties, you have to have strong values. In order to have stronger values, you need to know each other, personality types. To know each other, you need to know about what? The weakest point in the team chain. Well, we missed the sellable bit, but it's somewhere there. You need to be sellable. Great. If you need to be fallible, you have to be, master these characteristics about perseverance and dealing with difficult situations. So you cannot hire them based on their technical skills only. You have to hire them on leadership skills and put the leadership. And remember the first thing I talked about it was workplace is much more than just a piece of work. It's a family. You get to team chemistry. If you create a family environment, everyone is driven toward a goal, great. Your teams will be successful and they will bring in that 24% more profit. So I have done this for the past 17 years. I think it was one particular company I've helped to build a team. They have raised 80 million for businesses in Bristol as an investment. And I managed anywhere from 2 to 55 people. I have enormous knowledge. And the question is rather simple. Do you want that for your team? 2024, next year, will turn out to be very, very, very challenging. All the politics, all the mess that's happening around the world, you will need all of this knowledge and much more than that. So I'll offer you as a service to purchase something, to book myself for a call. It will cost, yes, your team, but you don't have to come alone just as a leader. You can bring in everyone from your team. I think I put it as 8 people, but you can bring it up to 8 people. But if you need more, you can just email me and I'll organize that. Those invites for the rest of the team. So the price, it's £800 per 1.5 hour session, for 90-minute session. I'll give all of this knowledge and much more on that. We can walk through your disk profiling analysis. We can find out what are the best ways to communicate with you. All this can happen in 90 seconds. So imagine you want to change something and you can do it in just 90 seconds. And this is what all it takes. I have done thousands of coaching sessions with teams and individuals. And I know that sometimes asking the right question, being in the right environment, brings almost an instant change. So here's what I'll ask you to do. There is a link somewhere up there, down there, somewhere. You can click on that, or you can just scan this code or copy this or take a photo, screenshot of this particular slide. You scan this, let me move myself a bit sideways. You scan this QR code, not barcode, the QR code. I'll bring you to a calendar form. You can book my call. You can, pay for that, and let's schedule it. I cannot wait. Literally, I cannot wait to help your team to grow. Trust me, I cannot wait for that. I want to bring in all of that experience, all that passion that I have with team development and teamwork inside your organization. So don't waste a minute. I'm looking forward to see you there. Book a call right now. Click it. I want you to click it right now and bring in your whole team. We're talking about teams. There is no need for you to just to come. You bring it in. If you have multiple teams, it's great. Schedule as many as you want. There you go. Looking forward to see you, and thanks for watching. See you there.